2 women are arrested for taking a child to watch waves during Typhoon Ragasa, while the government is mulling to curb storm chasing. The city revives after Super Typhoon Ragasa forces a 2-day halt and leaves traces of devastation. And in Taiwan, rescuers are still racing against the clock as dozens are still missing after a barrier lake in Hualien overflowed. Good evening, you're watching Cable News. I'm Jeremy Zhu. 2 women have been arrested on suspicion of child neglect after wave chasing with a child during the height of Typhoon Ragasa.
Police say a group of 3, including a child, was spotted taking selfies in South Horizon's up Lake Chao as large waves crashed ashore while the number 10 hurricane signal was in force. It was understood all 3 were knocked over by a powerful surge. The 2 women arrested are the child's mother and a family friend. According to police, the mother is an Indian national, while the friend is from Sri Lanka.
The condition of the mother, who was swept into the sea by strong waves along with her 5-year-old son, has improved from critical to serious, while her son remains in serious condition. Secretary for Security Chris Tang said the government is considering to review whether parents who take their children to wave watching during severe weather constitute child neglect, while the lawmaker calls for clearer regulations and penalties. Evelyn Bai reports.
The incident took place at Taiwan's coastline, the eastern tip of Hong Kong Island, where number 8 warning signal for Super Typhoon Ragasa was in force on Tuesday. The family was among many residents who ventured out of their homes to watch the waves, despite warnings from authorities to keep away from the shoreline.
Taking to the
airwaves, Security Chief Chris Tang said they will investigate if parents brought their children to hazardous locations where they are aware of the risks would face a charge of child neglect. Although there's currently no specific offense like chasing waves, Tang noted that penalties could be imposed on those who defy beach closure notices. Under the bathing beaches regulation, any rule breaker can face fines of up to $2,000 and 14 days behind bars. Meanwhile, lawmaker Doreen Kong suggested the government should also consider prohibiting public access to recreational areas along the shore under the pleasure grounds regulation during adverse weather conditions. Kong also stressed the need to clarify the penalties for violations and suggested establishing emergency regulations for extreme weather to empower the government to restrict public access to private areas. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
After the devastating impact of Typhoon Ragasa, life is returning to normal for many Hong Kongers, but parts of the city are still grappling with a trail of destruction left behind. Cheryl Yun has more.
School children and wage earners have resumed their daily routines, but some are navigating detours, particularly in hard-hit Cheng Kwan-O. The cycling track near the promenade remains flooded, littered with debris and tree branches. In other parts, collapsed fences have blocked pathways, leaving residents unable to pass. Uprooted trees, toppled by the storm's fierce winds, have also obstructed pedestrian walkways leading to the MTR station. In Southern District, the Fullerton Ocean Park Hotel was also severely impacted, where powerful waves shattered the glass entrance, turning the lobby into a raging river. While the hotel has completed interior cleanup, repairs to the exterior are still underway. In Oi Man Estate, workers are clearing the remnants of a 50-year-old banyan tree that succumbed to the storm's gusts. The cleanup is ongoing, with crews chopping branches to remove the massive tree piece by piece. In Sai Ying Pun, a retaining wall on Hospital Road partially collapsed. The debris and a fallen tree have been cleared, and the site is now covered with waterproof tarpaulin. Engineers inspected the area, while workers pruned nearby trees to eliminate potential hazards. Typhoon Ragasa ranks among the most powerful storms to hit Hong Kong, with the highest number 10 signal lasted 10 hours and 40 minutes, the second longest on record. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
In Taiwan, search and rescue efforts continue after floodwaters from a barrier lake surged into a township in Hualien County. The incident, triggered by Super Typhoon Ragasa, has left at least 15 people dead and 31 others unaccounted for. Best Learn reports.
After 2 days of severe flooding, the weather in Guangfu Township has improved, allowing large excavators to move in to clear the thick mud from the roads. Villagers were seen using buckets of water to wash their children in the open air, having lost access to running water. Essential supplies, including food, drinking water, baby formula and medicine, are now being distributed after initial severe shortages. Rescue teams are racing against the clock as the critical 72-hour golden window for finding survivors draws to a close. Their efforts have had moments of success, with crews earlier cutting through a roof submerged in mud and water to discover a little girl alive. Of the 11 victims who have been identified, 7 were over the age of 80. Examinations found the deceased covered from head to toe in mud, with their noses and mouths filled with silt, pointing to suffocation as the likely cause of death. The authorities, amid criticism for significant failures in risk communication and disaster response, have pledged a comprehensive review, promising to safely drain the remaining water from the barrier lake, adjust alert and response mechanisms, and strengthen the early warning system. Best Learn Cable News.
In other news, starting today, eligible residents can join the government's new annual seasonal influenza vaccination program to receive free or subsidized flu jabs.
The program continues to cover high-risk groups such as minors, people aged 50 and above, and pregnant women. Additionally, it has now been expanded to include individuals of all ages who have chronic illnesses. Eligible residents can receive vaccines at a range of locations, including public hospitals, general outpatient clinics, and district health centers for free, as well as enrolled private clinics at a subsidized price. Additionally, vaccination points for infants have been expanded to include all 29 maternal and child health centers. As for the vaccines themselves, the government is providing 2 inactivated types, Sinovac and Sanofi. Most public vaccination sites will stock both, and staff will discuss the choice with individuals based on any contraindications or their specific clinical situation.
A shooting at a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility in Dallas, Texas, left 1 person dead and 2 others in critical condition. Authorities are still investigating the motive of the 29-year-old shooter who was found dead at the scene from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Cheryl Yun reports.
Police investigated the rooftop crime scene at the ICE facility in Dallas after the shooting and are examining a bullet casing found near the shooter, inscribed with anti-ICE messages. The Federal Bureau of Investigation classified the shooting as an act of targeted violence, but the specific target of the attack has not been determined. Police responded to an assist officer call at 6:40 a.m. local time on Wednesday. The shooter had fired indiscriminately at the ICE facility and a nearby unmarked van, killing 1 person and seriously injuring others, including a Mexican national. The shooter, identified as 29-year-old Joshua Zhang, died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound and was registered as an independent voter and had prior cannabis-related charges in 2016. U.S. President Donald Trump again blamed the attack on radical left Democrats, accusing them of constantly demonizing law enforcement. He also announced plans to sign an executive order to dismantle these domestic terrorism networks. The shooting marks the latest in a series of attacks on ICE facilities, following the agency's intensified mass deportation efforts under Trump's directives, underscoring the serious divisions and growing concerns about political violence in the U.S. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
U.S. President Donald Trump is anticipated to sign an executive order today declaring the TikTok deal complies with the law that Chinese ownership ends or the app shuts down in the U.S., according to senior officials from the White House. Evelyn Bai reports.
Following a pivotal phone call last week over the future of TikTok's U.S. operations, Trump and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping came to an agreement to facilitate the sale of the short video app, which will be transferred to U.S.-controlled ownership from its current China-based owner, ByteDance. The full divestiture conforms with the law in 2024, when the Supreme Court upheld a law prohibiting TikTok from being available on app stores and web hosting services unless ByteDance sold off its U.S. operations. White House officials said the China-based owner will keep less than 20% of the stakes, with the majority held by a group of major American firms, including private equity firm Silver Lake and software and cloud computing company Oracle. As part of the agreement, Oracle would keep more than 170 million American users' data, and the app's algorithm will be closely watched to make sure that U.S. content is not manipulated by outside parties. Separately, U.S. and Chinese officials will host staff-level technical talks today on trade and economic topics, which will not cover the TikTok deal and are separated from the next round of high-level trade talks between U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng, which are scheduled before November 10th, before the 90-day tariff-reducing trade truce ends. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
Now let's take a look at the stock market. The Hang Seng Index ended the day down 33 points. Top active stocks of the day. Alibaba was down $2. Tencent was up $1.50. Meituan was up 10 cents. And JD was up $4.60. Foreign exchange against the Hong Kong dollar, Euro 9.13, Japanese yen 52.27. The city's external trade activities kept their momentum in August, with exports and imports both locked year-on-year growth.
Official data showed the value of outbound shipments reaching $436.6 billion in August, rising 14.5% from a year earlier compared to July's 14.3% growth. Concurrently, growth of imports tapered off from a 16.5% year-on-year increase in July, rising by 11.5% to $462 billion. As a result, a visible trade deficit of $25.4 billion was recorded in August. Exports to the mainland and most other Asian markets continue to post solid growth, while exports to the United States and the European Union turned into increases. A government spokesman said sustained economic growth in Asia, especially in mainland, together with the city's enhanced economic and trade ties with different markets, should continue to provide support to Hong Kong's merchandise trade performance. Yet, the United States trade policy will continue to affect the near-term outlook of international trade flows. The government will monitor the situation closely and stay vigilant.
The Chinese Manufacturers Association of Hong Kong predicts a slight economic slowdown for the second half of the year under the continued weakness in several major economies.
CMA pledged to support local businesses while focusing on diversifying markets.
廠商會咧係正積極配合。
The Business Chamber's president, Winko Lo, noted that they're actively cooperating with the government and have recently assisted multiple mainland brands in going global through the city. He hailed Hong Kong's strengths in supply chain management and international certification, urging the government to work with the industry in developing the city into a high value-added supply chain service center. He also highlighted the e-commerce and domestic markets as key directions for future trade, signaled by the outlook on U.S. interest rate cuts and the stabilization of Hong Kong's property and stock markets. The chamber maintained its growth forecast for the city's economy this year, ranging between 2.5% and 3%, with a slight acceleration expected afterwards, reaching 3% by 2026.
On to the weather now. Mainly cloudy with a few showers. The minimum temperature will be about 27 degrees tomorrow morning. Sunny intervals during the day with a maximum temperature of around 31 degrees. That's our news tonight. I'm Jeremy Zhu. Thanks for watching. Good night.